So what's next? This is why I haven't been uploading for a bit, because I absolutely agree with this sentiment. I think the state and the inherent interest of gacha is at a point where the quality of content has stooped down to a low that's really hard to actually make something out of. Everything feels the same, there's little to no variety, most of the games are in good spots, and it's like we're on the smooth sail, but nothing is really happening. And I don't think that's a bad thing. And I wanted to just talk about why I believe this is happening. I only have a few notes of like the points I want to go over, otherwise I'm just doing everything off the top of my head, with some minimal editing so I can actually push out the video in time. So the first one I wanted to go over was gacha content itself, and I believe this is the most simple one to explain because it's pretty much just, what is there to talk about when you only have a few days worth of content to cover, and if nothing else is happening, then how far can you really go before you just drag out a subject for so long it's just monotonous to listen to or discuss? Like, you can only really talk about something for so long before you just start going in circles. And I don't think it helps that in terms of gacha game content itself, it's in a cycle, so depending on whether or not something is the same or feels the same, it's gonna feel like it's the same discussion all over again. And not only that, I feel like it really hurts the variety of content you can actually make. And it doesn't really help that the state of most gacha games right now are generally pretty good. Besides one. And even besides, you know, Genshin Impact, I feel like most people have just given up, including me. I was really hopeful about what Natlan could bring to the table in terms of Genshin Impact and its future and so on. I was also painfully aware about what it could also do, which was hurt the game in the long run even more than they're already doing themselves. Despite the positive changes, that was about it. They put out the positive changes once, and that was all they did. 5.1 offered nothing new to the table, and if 5.2 doesn't deliver, I think it's generally safe to say that, like, Genshin Impact, they failed to do what they wanted to do, which was bring back their older players, and entice people to actually play the game again with the new changes and the promise of quality of life improvement that players have wanted for years. They did it in one patch and that was it. It was a one and done, and it feels like they're not even trying at this point. The game will still make money. It's obvious as to why. The game is still good in quotations. However, I do believe that the game itself has significantly lost its appeal to long-term players, and a good portion of long-term players are kinda just gone. Like, they're done with the bullshit. And just saying what I fully believe, the only people that are really truly enjoying Genshin Impact like a lot are new players. And that's it. A lot of new Genshin Impact players are just straight up blindsided, just because they have so much content to do and so many new things to do and learn about the game. But eventually, once they do run out of that, and they've played the game for, let's say, even a year, they will eventually start seeing the blatant flaws with the game. And you literally can't even tell them this, because certain lessons need to be learned through experience. You can learn from other people's mistakes. That was my motto. I learned from other people's mistakes because, well, I saw what the outcome was, and it wasn't a positive one. So why would I ever do somebody else's mistake, when I can just learn their lesson? But the problem with that motto is that it doesn't always work for everything, and you need to learn the hard way. And I learned the hard way through Genshin Impact, and I learned that these devs do not care. And even when they seem like they do care, they only care for a little short while just to get you back in. And the cycle continues, and you realize why aren't changes coming, and then the changes come, and then they don't come again for another year. And you can't really learn that lesson until you actually go through it yourself. You can listen to a wise man's words, but if you don't understand the meaning of those words, then what reason do you have to take those words to heart? And the people that don't understand those words, you know who they are. And even though I do think this video is pretty bad, and my follow-up video could have been better as well, in terms of how Natlan actually came out to be, besides one point, I was right about everything, and even more so in my follow-up video. And this kind of leads into my next point, which I genuinely do believe is probably the largest reason as to why gacha content is in the state it is in right now. It's drama, or more, lack thereof. Whether you like it or not, drama is entertainment, and a really good entertainer, because there's nothing better than watching two people endlessly disagreeing and bickering about pointless stuff. But why does that matter so much for something like gacha games? Well, that was because, like I said, it was debating about pointless stuff. And the thing is, before a certain incident, there was always someone to disagree with. And there was a bunch of disagreeable people in the gacha space. And not only that, there was a bunch of fucking people following these content creators, so they end up sharing those incredibly disagreeable points of views as well. And when a particular rat and a particular green slime got outed for being absolutely mentally unstable people, well, was there anything else? Like significantly that happened afterwards? No, because we basically outed the people that attracted the mentally unstable people because we managed to expose that they are mentally unstable, so their followers either switched sides, went into hiding, or they went on the attack on other people's streams, made themselves look like idiots, and earned themselves a one-way ticket to the Gacha Gaming subreddit, where all the exiled, click lovers, and mid-pickers now reside. And if you know anything about this subreddit, you already know what kind of reputation this place now holds. And why this entire incident did matter was because, well, the gacha space was filled with these mentally unstable people that were considered to be in the right. But if you simply just take your time to dissect their points, you realize how disagreeable these points are. And people speaking their minds and speaking with constructive points simply just got bombarded with hate comments and shit just because they decided to speak facts. And I thank my favorite Baldi for making this gacha space a little bit less volatile. Thank you, Techie. But after all that shit was done, like, now we're in a space where most of the people agree with each other, and people generally, like, respect each other's opinions a lot more. And when you make a lot of content based around calling out these stupid people, then, well, if there's less stupid people, there's less content. That, or, well, the stupid people are still there, but they refuse to engage with the content because they know what will happen. They'll make themselves look like retards. And if there's one fact everybody knows, humans in nature don't like being wrong about things. Nobody likes to admit when they were wrong. But any mature person can admit their wrongdoings and say that it's their fault. And what I find sad is that a lot of people just kind of want people to admit their own mistakes in a genuine way, where you can feel like they are genuinely sorry about what they did and they realize the weight of the situation. But some simply refuse to admit their wrongdoings and they just blame it on something else, or they refuse to apologize. And why I find this sad is because there's a thing called forgiveness. Nobody is perfect, and nobody wants to admit it genuinely. And unironically, I genuinely do believe that this discourse did change the direction of gacha content for the future. Once Atsu and Envy was out, name any huge gacha drama that happened afterwards that actually had some consequences about certain content creators afterwards. You really can't. And unironically, with those two being gone, it leaves a huge gap. Why do you need to try to prove a point when that point has now already been proven and people get it? Everyone thinks with the same level of nuance and perspective. People can come to agreement after actually just talking to each other now. Things that seemed controversial or a hot topic to discuss is now just common sense. They used to be hot topics, but now everyone just gets the point. Competition is important. Gacha rates matter. People enjoy different things. Shit talking and criticism are two different things. Player feedback actually matters, etc. When anything involving these sorts of topics come up, there was a good reason to discuss it because people wouldn't get it, but now people do. So now it feels like there's some meaning lost behind doing it in the first place. And why I feel that way is because I can't even remember the dumbass fucking arguments that these people used against me, because they were that out of touch, and I thought, how could you even think this way in the first place? They didn't make any sense, so there was no point in me trying to make sense of it, so I just forgot about it in the end. Because besides trying to make sense of it, these people aren't worth my time anymore. Because, well, I'm now in a community that actually thinks the same way I do. So the people with brain cells that feel like engaging with these fucking dumbasses, they can now use their time on making those people look like idiots. I'd rather spend my time with people I actually feel like that are worth my time. The future of gacha content isn't necessarily bleak, but it's just very dull. And it's definitely very hard to constantly make content on video games where there's only so much you can do. So until a discussion resurfaces that I feel like is worth my time and I want to share my 2 cents on is actively being discussed, I don't think I'm gonna make that much gacha content. I'm making a video on a certain topic and it will come up again because it literally happens every month. But until then, I don't really have that much else to talk about. So I'll see you guys next time when I find something that pisses me the fuck off.